Okay, so Praxis. Praxis is the other part of sensory integration. We're just going to have a brief look at it because really this is a whole course into itself and so complex as we've been talking about. But it's the ability to conceptualize, to plan, to sequence and perform novel motor actions. So Praxis literally means to do. So obviously dyspraxia is a limitation in the ability to do, to be able to ideate and plan and sequence, to come up with that plan, to know what you need to do with what's available to you and what's in front of you, and to be able to make a plan of action within the area you have and sequence that action and evaluate that response. Okay, so has everyone got a pencil and a piece of paper? Beautiful. All right, guys, so what I want you to do is you're going to put the pencil in your non-dominant hand and you're going to take your feet off the ground.
Oh, I remember doing this and I failed miserably.
Okay, so you ready? Here's your sentence. The components of GTD
Hold on.
capture, clarify, organize, reflect, engage.
Ah!
That's enough. All right, so I like to stress someone out during it.
Components of what?
Doesn't matter. I said GTD. Yeah, not too bad, guys. Oh, holy moly. Who's that in the middle? Abby, that's pretty nice.
You ambidextrous.
But you didn't get it all. So, all right, let's talk through it. Like, that was mean of me at the end to go fast, but I want to move on. Tell me about the experience.
I was like clenching my feet. Like my feet were like this.
Yeah, what do you think that was doing?
I was like overcompensating for something.
You were fixing, you were stabilizing through your feet, trying to sort of lock it in because you couldn't stabilize on the ground. So you were finding some point of stability, even if it was hanging in the air. Yeah, anyone else?
I was doing the same, but at the opposite end. I was clenching my jaw.
Yeah. Huh? That's interesting. Yeah.
I had my quads locked in. I had turned the paper to start to try and get like I had turned it.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah,
I don't know, some sort of midline thing there going on maybe.
Yeah, right. And so a lot of these things aren't necessarily praxis things so far. I've given you a postural praxis challenge, right? But it's hard.
But the attention and focus for me, right? Like it was going to be hard for me with my posture, all of my ability. And that's why I was like, stop. So imagine like in a classroom, you can't yell at the teacher to slow down. But I was getting so stressed out just trying to figure out how to spell components. I mean, I know how to spell that word, but I was so like using a lot of my power to just get the C and the O, and it was hard.
Right. So what we do know, so all right, so that's a good, that I was wanting to get to that. So in terms of, so while we talked about a lot of postural things going on, a lot of things of finding stability to be able to have that base to do the response, writing the letters, that's the praxic piece here. And Daniela was just telling us it took all of her resources to think about forming the letters that she couldn't remember how to spell an easy word. Or not an easy word, but a word that was familiar to her and within her spelling vocabulary.
So for me, I reversed some letters because I was writing so fast. And like, yeah.
You had a reversal?
Yeah, for like
some letters, multiple reversals.
Yeah, the E and the S. And I was like, what? What's happening?
Wow. Yeah, cool. Right. Cool. So what do we think in terms of, so why is that, right? You guys know how to write those words. Why was that hard?
Posture, stability.
Yeah, I mean, you were using the opposite hand as well, which is your non-dominant hand. But why? But like, there's sort of a simple motor plan, right? Why can't you get it, right? Well, the motor plan's not with that hand. So in terms of praxis, would you normally need to think about how to spell component, Daniela? Not really. Would you normally need to think about how to form your letters, Kalisa? Right, you don't need to think over, around, up and down to do an A or whatever the letter was that was, yeah, right? So instead of just sort of going, why was this harder? But let's think about why was writing letters and words a praxis challenge for you when it isn't normally a praxis challenge? So normally you're using very little motor planning to write those words, right? You've reached the level of automaticity around it. You've ingrained them. So you can think about the content, right? We don't want to be thinking about how we form the letters when we're learning about the Eureka Stockade. So, but when you've got so praxis occurs in a novel task. So praxis occurs in a new skill, a novel task. You go through that whole process of that. It's very similar to what, if you're a Sydney Uni student, you'd be familiar with the PRPP model. Perceive, recall, plan, perform. You take in information, you use it to make a plan. You formulate that plan within the map that you have, you sequence that plan, and then you carry out that plan and you evaluate it and get feedback as you're going. We want to get pretty quickly to when we don't need to actually have the planning part. We just need to go perceive, recall, perform, and we recall something that's a pretty close plan that we can just carry out that plan and then fine tune it. And then we just want to be able to be perceive, perform, right? Writing the letter A should be a perceive, perform thing, not have to go through all that praxis. So praxis occurs with novel, not with things that are common experiences. And that was very, very mean of me / fun to hear you squawk.